Hey guys, as you guys are all aware, yesterday there was a conversation between Destiny and David Pakman. Now, this is a very good conversation. Watched the entire thing. It was very entertaining. They touched on a lot of different issues. I found the conversation to be very interesting. If you remember in the video I did where I told you guys, hey, this convo is about to be happening, I told you guys that there seems to be a good chemistry between David Pakman and Destiny. They vibe off each other really well. The conversation never is really sluggish. It continues to, sort of go through, and it maintains its interesting, and, it continues to be interesting, and you see interest from Pakman as well as Destiny, and it's just really, anytime these guys have a convo, it's always very fruitful and very interesting. So, there were a couple things Destiny said that I disagreed with, where he said he was like against rent control, which I'm not totally, full on, but saying that it completely doesn't work, I thought was too far. And also his position on NAFTA and TPP, I thought were kind of ridiculous. But nonetheless, in this clip we're going to be watching here that we're going to jump into, they're going to clown on the Dave Rubin of journalism, and I take credit for that phrase, by the way, 100%. Tim Pool, they totally dunked on this guy, and it was marvelous.
Have you noticed the videos that Hack Tim Pool has made recently? I don't watch any Tim Pool stuff. Do you? I know him personally. Is this a guy you're familiar with?
Yeah, he's kind of like, I don't know. Like, imagine like David Rubin and Joe Rogan had like a kid that inherited some of the baldness and then all the bad ideas and lack of spine. That's like Tim Pool right now. Yeah.
So you don't really like his content, it sounds like.
Oh no, he's like the most absurd face sitting, or not face sitting. Christ, fence sitting.
Face sitting. That's really hilarious because that was really a Freudian slip, because it was interesting because during this debate, like someone kept walking behind him, like to move around in the apartment or whatever. And I think it's the girl that Destiny had was with when he cucked that dude in New Zealand. So I guess he brought her to Los Angeles. So I think Destiny was actually really, really horny. And so I think that was more of a Freudian slip than anything else.
Sitting, kind of like no position. What was the last dumb thing he tweeted? It was like yesterday.
And David's laugh, by the way, dude, something tells me he's a big fan of face sitting.
I think even where he has like the worst position. It's like if you were to go into a topic and you're like, what is not like what's a bad position or an okay position? What is the worst position I can take on something? It seems like that he somehow manages to do that. Oh man, can someone in my chat will know?
He's completely right about that, by the way. Tim Pool does that. Not only does he come with the worst possible take, it's so infuriating that you really get frustrated. That's how dumb it is. And he comes with the dumbest takes I've ever seen in my entire life. So he said that basically, if you believe in white privilege, that makes you believe that white people are superior, therefore you're a racist. Like, what? What on God's green earth are you saying, dude? Like, this guy, Tim Pool, is an NPC bot who has been programmed by the right wing. He has been programmed by the right wing to somehow, some way do these weird backflip mental gymnastics, to do these all kinds of crazy, weird defenses of Republicans to the point where he's damn near incoherent.
But like something that he just said, like literally yesterday.
Well, one thing I saw that he tweeted yesterday, which I responded to, was that Dave Rubin is right not to have Sam Cedar on, because if he did, Sam Cedar would do so poorly that the left would say, you had a weak leftist on. And I was like, that's a really, really, that just doesn't make any sense.
Unbelievably stupid. Imagine how lost you are to think Dave Rubin would win a debate against Sam Cedar. I can't even imagine. But
think about how dumb that is, by the way. And that's another example of the unbelievably robotic, sort of things that come up from this NPC machine, where you just come up with insanely dumb takes in the name of being programmed to be a right-wing defense bot. Imagine for 1 second thinking that Sam Cedar would, as Destiny put it, lose a debate, or that Dave Rubin would win a debate against Sam Cedar. And that's sort of self-defeating. The reality of the situation is sort of self-defeating for Dave Rubin, because if that were really true, I mean, wouldn't he have him on because he would defeat him or whatever? And it's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
But actually, the Tim Pool thing was it had to do with not platforming extremists or not bending to extremists, and he called progressives extremist.
So this is actually something that Tim Pool does, and I know because I've exchanged some messages with him. But the way he views the world is, I'm a centrist liberal cuck. And there are two sides who are very bad. There's the far right, and then there's the far left. You got Steve King here, and you've got AOC here. Both identitarians. They're essentially, he equates the two as being like, those are both people we want to get away from, and that they're the same. As if, and he says some shit like, there's like a race value law being proposed. I'd never heard of that concept in my entire life until he said it. And I was like, what on God's green earth are you talking about, dude? That's not even a thing, a race value law? What are you talking about? And to equate someone like Steve King and AOC is obviously hilarious, but also he seems to equate any sort of identity-related politics as if it's like inherently bad, when obviously it's not, because we obviously have a system of institutional oppression that exists in the United States, and to ignore that as well as history, you'd have to be a totally complete moron. Seriously, you have to be a massive, complete moron. And that's what Tim Pool is. So Destiny's 100% right about that. You've got, in Tim Pool's robotic mind that has been programmed, Steve King, far right, bad. AOC, far left, bad. Both same. Hate both. I'm centrist liberal cuck who likes drinking Starbucks and is a fan of Howard Schultz.
Oh,
that was his like.
See, that's the thing. Like, okay, so my backstory with Tim Pool is I met him 4 years ago at a conference, and he was perfectly nice and said
I wonder if he still wore a beanie back then.
He found out about me when Westboro Baptist Church was hacked by Anonymous live on a show I did, and I said that's totally fine. And we sort of kept in touch a little bit. And beyond that, he's always been perfectly nice to me, but I'm aware that he claims to be on the left or some kind of centrist, but the few things I see him post to Facebook all seem to be attacks on the left.
Yeah, that's what they always do, man. They always say, like, it's like me going on my channel and all the time. And you know what the ironic thing is? You want to know what the super ironic thing is? Is they're virtue signaling. That's what they're doing. When they say things like, oh, well, I don't hate X group. Like, I'm actually really liberal in the United States. I just hate feminism, Black Lives Matter, and everything to do with the Democratic Party. And I don't think Trump is as bad as people make him out to be. But I am a liberal. Like, dude, you're virtue signaling the word.
That's not a reasonable position. That sounds pretty reasonable to me, actually.
Wait.
You
were joking, right?
I'm kidding.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
so
David Pakman's humor is so dry that Destiny wasn't able to understand it. That's hilarious.
I've heard it so many times, it's not even a joke when you say it. I have to do a double take. Oh, God.
There's somebody.
Okay. So, yeah. So that concludes the clip that they did where they were dunking on Tim Pool. But per usual, of course, yeah, they're 100% correct, in this situation, obviously. Tim Pool is really a really terrible he's not even a journalist anymore. I mean, drop the label, because he does commentary like the rest of everyone. He doesn't actually do any journalism. He's just like everyone else, because journalism is actual hard work, and obviously he's not really interested in that. And apparently there's something going down with some website that he had created, Subverse, and now there's some like alien cartoon site or something that has taken his name that's formed in the UK or something like that, and he was whining about that. So anyways, Tim Pool is a complete disingenuous hack. He's not a left-winger. He is the Dave Rubin of journalism, although he's really just a commentator now. And he is one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my entire life. So what are some of the dumb things he said? Again, he equates Steve King and AOC as like both identitarian, bad identitarians who, are both equally bad, and I don't want to be part of that. He also seems to be a centrist lib cuck, like we saw on Jimmy Dore. Remember, he went on the Jimmy Dore show, and Jimmy Dore actually checked him pretty hard. And he was like, oh, I'm not for universal health care or something like that. And he also, like, backed away from supporting Bernie Sanders or something like that for some stupid reason. And he was on Dave Rubin's show, and he was just, smearing Bernie Sanders, saying, oh, you've got 3 houses and all this other stuff. So Tim Pool is a complete massive hack. And if you look at his content, like, seriously, all you have to do is this. Right now, as you're listening to this, just search up the Tim Pool channel, look at the videos. You're going to die of cringe because the titles are so unbelievably cringy. The videos are so unbelievably cringy. He does everything from this dumb right-wing slant. I think that one of his videos is literally titled, like, the far left is going crazy and I'm worried as a lefty or something like that. Another one is like, our humanity is down a downtrend and Jordan Peterson is the savior or something like that. Again, I'm paraphrasing those titles because I don't remember them verbatim literally. But this guy is genuinely probably the worst YouTuber I've seen in my entire life. I hate this guy with every fiber of my body. Every bone in my body hates the shit out of Tim Pool because he's such a hack. He's such a tool, and he's so insufferable. And that's the truth about Tim Pool, okay? He's somebody who has no clue what he's talking about. He's uneducated, has no idea what he's talking about. He's playing as a pawn for the right wing because that's where all the money comes from. That's where all his investors come from, as he put it. That's where, all of his, I don't think he's on Patreon anymore, but, he rakes in views on his commentary channel. So, listen, man, Tim Pool is a total joke. He has no clue what he's talking about, and if you catch any of his Twitter statements, you'll see how insane they are.